Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. Just getting settled here. And there he is. Hey Rob, I see you. Here we go. Okay, clicking the right person to go live with. Okay. Pulling you up now, Rob. Hello, hello, hello. High five. Psh, wave. Hopefully my internet's coming in good. I've had issues with internet. This week has been a good week, so we'll see. Hey,
There,
Rob, how
there it
are
is.
you?
I'm well. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. You look fantastic.
Likewise.
Thank you, thank you. So it's Saturday afternoon now. I was gonna say morning, but it's afternoon.
Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday. So we are here in the topic today, and it is pinned so that those who join can see what we're discussing. And it's stress less, over giving and receiving feedback in your professional and your personal life. It's a long title, so it doesn't fit all of it. So wanted to bring you on and talk a little bit about who you are first. So, Robert Michelucci, am I saying it right?
Yes, you are.
Yes. Robert Michelucci, he goes by Rob and is an amazing fellow colleague, by the way.
Mhm.
And we are like-minded. I feel we just gravitate towards each other. The energy
Yep.
just full of love. I just love
Yes.
Rob. And he is a fellow coach as I am. He is a PCC ICF credential holder, and I'll let you explain all of what that is. But he is amazing. We have worked together in the past. Currently, we're working together. And
Yes, we are.
we just thought this would be a great topic to share with you all and have some great takeaways and a little extra something special that we'll share with you. But I won't spoil the surprise. So I actually want to turn it over to you, Rob. I want you to have your space, have a moment, talk a little bit more about who you are and what you do, what you offer as a service, and then we'll get into the topic.
Sure, Kenya. Thank you so much. Thanks
Well,
for the nice introduction. And you're right. We are we're kindred spirits. So I'm so excited to be here today with you. I am a life coach. So I am called to help people realize their potential, as you are. And when I say realize, I mean both come to an awareness of and fulfill.
yes.
It was brought to coaching through, coaching found me. And I know that right, it
Yes.
finds you.
Yes.
So it found me some years ago. And you mentioned the ICF, the International Coaching Federation, of which we are both a part,
Yeah.
is the sort of largest global governing body of professional coaching. And the ICF helps set the standard for coaching ethics and coach credentialing.
Yes.
So I'm excited to be a part of the ICF. I think the ICF just reached a milestone of 30,000 credentialed coaches. Um,
Yay!
yeah,
And we need
and
more.
this year, and we need more.
Yes.
And this year marks the 25th
Yes.
anniversary of the ICF. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Awesome.
And the kind of coaching I do is just like you, life coaching. I coach to the whole person, right? So that, of course, includes career, leadership, executive, spirituality, relationship, LGBTQ, of which I'm a proud member of that community. So all kinds of coaching to help people move themselves forward.
Awesome. So totally vibing with you there. We are kindred spirit. We were called to this. It's like, what is your purpose? And you find that you're living it and don't know you're living it. And it's like, well,
Mm.
let me just make sure that I get the tools, strategies, and I am educated on what I should be doing and how I should be helping people. It is a huge responsibility.
Mhm.
Just the opportunity to have someone share things with you that are private.
Mhm.
I automatically think privilege and thank you for sharing, because it takes a lot to be vulnerable, and you need to know that you have a safe space to do that. And that is a life coach's job, is to create that safe space no matter who they're talking to. It's not just that, okay, we agreeing to work together, but anyone that you're interacting with, just, you know, giving grace so that we might receive it ourselves. I think that's just so important no matter what we do. So thank you for that intro and talking a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah.
I'm learning to believe more and learn more about the law of attraction. And there's a reason
Yes.
why we have been working together. It's brought us to this point, and we'll see where it goes from there. So,
absolutely.
Awesome. So let's get into it. So the topic is, as I said earlier, stress less over giving and receiving feedback in your professional and your personal life. So this is information that can help you in many, many ways. So this is not an interview. This is a conversation. This is a real conversation. We talk about real talk, and coaching is the conversation. We're not coaching each other, but we're sharing information as coaches to others to see how this might help them in their lives. So our first topic for discussion around the overall topic, my question to you, and then I will add my little 2 cents, is what do you feel is the biggest reason why people don't give feedback that they know that they should? And I'll just add on to that, and more specifically, what do you feel gets in their way?
It's funny, you know, you and I talked about doing this Saturday, and I had some idea, you know, the conversation's open, it's real, and I had some idea of the kinds of things we might talk about, but I made a decision. I have examples of feedback to share later, but I made a decision not to prep too much because I wanted to bring my curiosity and vulnerability.
Yeah.
So when you just asked me, what do I think like a top reason that people don't give feedback is? Fear. I think I went right to fear.
Yes.
I think it's fear. And, you know, a lot of people, but I think of Marianne Williamson and her Return to Love has said we are all only either moving in the direction of love or fear. That's it. So I think it's fear.
I love that. And it's right to the point. And where do you think that fear comes from?
So back to what you said a moment ago during the intro about what a privilege it is to be a coach. I've now said this many times, but it didn't come from me. And Oprah Winfrey is my #1 mentor on the whole planet. And she said this during her final Oprah Winfrey show some years ago, and she's repeated it since, that she has learned that everybody on the planet just wants to know, do you see me? Do you hear me? And does what I say matter? And so where I think the fear comes from is that it's a fear of not being accepted, or a fear that what I say doesn't matter in your eyes. A fear of rejection.
Yes.
A fear of judgment.
Yes. Yeah. I love that response, you know, and it's automatically saying, you don't get me, why even bother, right? And it's true. It's always in my mind what we're telling ourselves, and whatever we're telling ourselves, it's true for us, right? It's the story we're playing in our heads. I definitely agree that it's fear. I also feel that when something's going on, we go to the people that we feel safe with, and we tell them everything that happened. No problem telling that other person. But to actually confront, if you will, the person that you're having some issue with, it could be good or bad, is I always also assume positive intent, which is they don't know how.
Yes.
It's not that they don't, I always say it's not that they don't want to, it's that they don't know how. So once you give someone the tools on the how, your excuses are gone. And when your excuses are gone, what do you have to do instead? Right? It's just do it. And it's easier said than done. I know, and we'll talk about a little bit later on how do you get to just doing it. But I think that's where it comes from. And one of my favorite mentors in the whole world is Lisa Nichols, who's a transformational coach.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And
I think she's featured in the Secret, right?
She is.
She might be featured in the Secret.
She is.
Yeah.
She's featured in the Secret. And one of the things she said to me, which was powerful, was, well, not to me, but what she said was, turn confrontation into carefrontation. And that little tweak, that little
Wow.
mindset tweak, it changes your approach to things. Is I'm saying this to this person because I care. I care about them and I
Yes.
care about me. So if you come at it from that lens, that might help to step out of your fear, your comfort zone, because it's about I care and I'm showing you I care. Because when you think about feedback, people don't give feedback a lot of times because it's about them, it's not the other person. But if you take yourself out of it and say I care, then maybe we would get a little bit more feedback in the process, because somebody cared about me to give the feedback. That never happens, you know. So
I wrote that
that's
down. That's my only 11 in, and I have an aha. Turn confrontation into carefrontation. I love. By the way, I think, and I think it's on YouTube, because we've been talking about the law of attraction and The Secret, and I mentioned Oprah, and you mentioned Lisa Nichols. I think Lisa Nichols was on an episode of the Oprah Winfrey Show. Oprah did two shows about The Secret, and I think Lisa was on the show.
She was way back when,
Yeah.
and probably more recently. Her book, I was introduced to her, and then her book, No Matter What. And she talks about how she interviewed to be in The Secret, and how one of her goals was to interview with Oprah. So hopefully, I don't know if that's my internet or yours. Am I coming in delayed? I think you're okay. You're back. You were delayed a little bit.
All right.
All right. So yeah, you're correct. She was definitely featured in it, and she talks about it in her book, No Matter What. I love it, Lisa. She's helped me through a lot of tough times. I'll just leave it at that. So I already kind of answered this question as I was gabbing. But one of my next questions, and I'll just throw it out to you just in case there's a what else, is what can they do to change this mindset? I gave one around the changing it from confrontation to carefrontation, because that's what we sometimes think about when we're giving somebody feedback that may not be positive. But is there anything else that comes to mind? Or even those who are listening, if you have thoughts or questions, please feel free to share. But anything come to mind as far as what they can do to change this mindset around fear?
So I have a model to share a little later for the actual giving and receiving feedback. However, you hit on something I think is really important, and it's one of the principles I live by, which is assuming positive intent. Many of the individuals that I coach who are experiencing conflict with other people, sometimes we'll do some role playing, and I'll say, okay, I'll be you, you be that person, and then we'll switch. And the role playing is not about how well I can act or be them or be the other person. It's about the person I'm coaching, their takeaways and their learnings. And one of those is, what do you think is going through the other person's mind? What do you think their perspective is? And assuming positive intent ties into that, because sometimes we jump right to the negative. I mentioned Oprah. I went to New York to see Oprah and Michelle Obama in February for an all-day motivational thing.
Oh my goodness.
It's incredible. And there were some people from work colleagues that were supposed to meet there. And we had been planning it for a couple of weeks. And one of the individuals, I texted them that morning and I said, how about we meet? Oh, can you hear me still?
I can still hear you. It's just delayed on the video, but I can hear you.
Okay, might be skipping out a little. One of the individuals
I
texted that morning. Okay, I texted someone that morning and I said, oh, let's meet, stay in touch. We'll meet at the event like we had planned on. And I didn't hear anything from them all day, the day after. So I'm like, man, that's what is that about? So my jump to was, that's not cool. Wait till I see that person. And then I said, nope, I'm going to live the principle that I teach other people. I'm going to assume positive intent. And I'm really going to say, no, I know this person. They wouldn't just ghost me. And sure enough, when I saw them at work, I saw them all the way at the other end of the hallway and they're like this. And they said that was their birthday weekend. They planned a really special trip to go see Oprah and Michelle Obama. A friend out on them. And they ended up up not even going to New York, and they were really upset about it the whole weekend. And I just thought, and then of course I came from a place of compassion, empathy, and I just thought, yeah, I figured something went really wrong. And I was able to share the work with them from the event. But assuming, if I hadn't have assumed positive intent, I could have ended up saying something I regretted based on a story that I told myself.
Yes. I love you sharing that story and ending with, I could have went a different direction and ended up with a story I tell ourselves, because it all comes back to the story that we're telling ourselves. It's your reality. It's not the truth. And unless you're seeking out the truth, all you're doing is making assumptions, and they're not always presumed positive assumptions, right? We, like you say, automatically go to the negative. So it's almost like, we need to check ourselves. And when we do have that fear, or we do get upset, which is our choice, a lot of times when it involves other people, and I've said this before, it doesn't have anything to do with us, but we make it about us, right? It's about them.
We do.
So then we project that on ourselves, and by projecting in the negative, we don't find out the truth. We don't seek to understand. And I think that's like kind of where it starts. So going to that's a good segue into, so we all hopefully are working right now. For those who are not, I pray that you will be back to work. We all have people in our lives, hopefully. So what will you share, or what can you share now that you feel can help people as far as how to give feedback as well as receive it?
Sure. And I'm still on by since March, where I haven't had some hiccup with technology, since the quarantine. So it's skipping out a little, but you asked for some tips on how to give and receive feedback.
Yes, I did. Yes.
Okay. All right. So I have a model. I know we both know this model, Kenya. I take credit for this model. In two corporate roles that I've had, I have been fortunate enough to be trained in this model by consultants at McKinsey. Don't know if the model comes ultimately from McKinsey. A cursory glance of it on the internet, you're able to find it in a couple of places. So we're going to share it with you today, but I can't take credit for it. But it works, and I've been using it for probably over a decade. It's called OILS.
I can see part of it. Okay, that's better.
All right.
You'll explain it for those who can't see.
OILS.
It's coming through backwards because of the video camera, but that's okay.
All right. Well, the O.
Well, we lost you there.
Your observation.
We lost you there. The O stands for what?
Observation.
Okay.
Okay. If you have feedback to give someone, you're going to. Still cutting out?
It's still cutting out, but I'm glad you can recognize when it is, so you're not continuing to talk. So what I'll try my best to do is, when you say something, I'll repeat it, or if you get stuck, I'll fill in the blanks, since I'm familiar with it as well. So you're not continuing to talk. So I can hear
I'm going to
now.
Try and. I'm going to join from my iPhone now and turn the iPad off. Maybe that'll make a difference.
All right. So, guys, please don't drop off, those that are on. This is really the crux of the conversation, is the model, the tool. So Rob is going to come back, and then he'll be able to go through it. And hopefully the internet connection will be better. But just to give you some background, and he'll repeat it. But for those who are on, thanks for joining. He's starting to get into what is called an OILS model, and it is used in coaching. He and I have partnered together in the past. The company that we on coaching based on a philosophy or a methodology that we use at our company that's close to lean management. So OILS is the model that he's referring to, and he'll come back on and talk about it. O is for observation. I is for impact. L is listen, which literally to listen, and S is for a solution or suggest. Hey, he's back. Okay, so he's gonna request to join, and then I'll let him walk through. I've said what they stand for, but then he'll be able to literally step through what it means. So, Rob, request to join, and then I can get you back, because I don't know how to do it on my end, if that's even an option. Let me try. Oh, wait, I see it. Okay. All right. I think I just figured it out. Hey, practice makes perfect. All right. So he's going to come back, and I'll let him know if he didn't hear. Hey, all right. All right. We're good now. So listen, I'm doing good, girl, Lauren. And thank you. I'm just giving a quick update from the messages I'm seeing. And thank you, beautiful, for giving us your quote. If you're still on. Okay, so I just was filling in the blanks. I said what OILS stands for: observation, impact, listen, solve, or suggest. Mm-hmm. So I'll let you literally step through that.
Perfect. Thanks. Are we live? Can you hear me?
We're still live.
All right. There was a little delay earlier. Okay. So here's OILS, and we have a little gift for you at the end of our Instagram live. So as Kenya said, the O is for observation. You're going to state what the factual observation is. And so I think we each have some personal life examples and some work examples. I will just give you a work example that a people manager might face.
Yes.
Let's say you have a team of several people, and one of those individuals has been chronically late all week. Okay? And so you're stating an observation, like, hey, can we have a conversation? I have some feedback to share. And the observation would be, hey, I've noticed, 4 out of 5 days this week, there have been late arrivals.
Yeah.
That's what I did not say is, why can't you ever get here on time? What's wrong with you? I didn't point a finger and place blame. I stated an observation. The I is for impact. So, I've noticed 4 out of 5 late arrivals to work this week. The teams had to make up for that extra work, and our customers are not getting serviced as they need to because of it. Observation, impact. Okay. So you're sort of sticking to the facts. The L, as you said, Kenya, is for listening, right? So if you're giving the feedback, it's time for you to pause, because you don't want to just keep talking. Some of us are uncomfortable with silence, and we feel the silence, but you really got to pause to let the other person take in what you're saying. Yes. And they're listening, and they're pausing and processing. Now, oftentimes when someone is giving us feedback, especially, constructive feedback, we're not paying attention because we have a defense planned in our head already. So the L step is really for you to listen and take it in. Now, you both don't have to have a 5-minute staring contest. It's just a brief pause, right? So you can get everything together. You might ask for clarification or examples, or you might say, yeah, and give your point of view. Okay, so there's the pause and listen, and you're going back and forth a bit. And then the S is for solving. So, there have been 4 out of 5 late arrivals this week. Our customers are not getting service the way they need to. The teams had to make up for that extra work. Is everything okay? We'll talk about it. Think you could throw me a text? Is it a scheduling issue? Let's try and come to a solution together. In a perfect world, that would work 100% of the time, and it's not a perfect world, but it does work. It's very effective because it's designed around a principle of respect for people, and so it takes the finger pointing and blame out of the equation.
Yeah.
So that's the model.
I love it. Thank you for explaining it the way you did. I probably would have said more than I needed to, and maybe have confused people. So I like the way you said it succinctly. I definitely am a supporter of this particular model. You introduced me to it when we did the training several years ago with parts of an organization, and then I used it subsequently for how to have effective one-on-ones, tips and tools. So it was added in there, and I have one experience I would share very high level because it's work related, but we had a situation where there was an employee, I believe they were still on their 180 introductory day, 180 days introductory. And the manager came to me and was like communicating that they had concerns about the performance and how things were going. It was behavior related. It was results related. And I talked through and asked a lot of questions and probed to learn that some of that feedback wasn't being given before. So this was going to be a tougher conversation. And I pulled out the model and I shared it with them, and I stepped through them and said, this is how you want to frame up having this difficult conversation. The observation, impact, stop and listen, and then co-create the solutions together. And one of the things that when I'm giving that feedback or coaching on the S in oils, the suggestion of solution is try not to automatically go to the solution yourself. Ask the questions of the employee of what might we do together differently so that we're not in the situation again, because it puts it on the other person to think. That's where the coaching comes in, to pause, because you already have the solution. You came into the conversation with the solution. You're still in the listening mode by asking questions now. So you stay the coach from L to S by asking the questions and pause. It's okay. You know, silence is uncomfortable, but it's the best place to be at times. And then let the person, you know, say, okay, well, here's what I might do differently, because now it's also showing that they have the ownership and they're committing to what they can do differently, because part of it is on them. I can't control you showing up late. Only you can control that. So, and then you can come in and say, I think that's a great suggestion or possible solution. Might we also add on this? Or that's a great solution. However, here's the impact if we do that. We might suggest doing this. What do you think? Then it's really working together, and it's not the manager telling the employee what to do and the employee's going, okay, here we go again. Because that's sometimes what goes through the employee's mind. I know it goes through my mind as an employee is, here we go again. So in that same situation, manager was set up for success. Coincidentally, this doesn't happen very often, but it was a perfect storm. The employee called me. So the manager doesn't know I'm talking to the employee. The employee doesn't know I'm talking to the manager. I keep those separately. The employee's like feeling she's having issues with the manager. I give her the same model. So now they're on equal playing field. They know the role the manager might play. They also know the role that they may play, because you reverse roles sometimes too. Right? You come in and you're on the top of the steps of the giver of the giver of the feedback. And sometimes on the bottom as the recipient. But she was going in as the potential recipient and the giver. It goes both ways. So she knew how to use the model. And guess what? I got feedback from both of them. It was an effective meeting. That's what you want at the end of the day. That's your end goal, is it to be effective. Not what was said the way that I want it to be said. It's how do you show up the way you want to. That's all you can do. So I'll share that. That's the professional example.
Yeah. You, that reminded me, you know, we talked about assuming positive intent earlier, and why don't we give feedback? And the way to give it is to really give it from a place of having someone's best interest at heart. Language is so important, as you know. So, you know, sometimes when you have feedback to give, you can talk about here, you know, what do you think is working well? What would make it even more effective? Here's what I think is working well. Even better if this. The even better if can be a nice linguistic substitute for challenges or obstacles, because even better if means we're on the same team. I'm on your side, and I really do want the best for you. And I really do think these things are going well, and even better if these other things.
I love that. Even, I'm going to write that down. Hopefully you guys write that down. Even better if. Even better if. And that just drives up notches up the level of energy in the conversation, because like you said, we're on the same team. Now we're working together. And it also shows me that you're listening, right? You're not downplaying what I've said. You're not saying that's great, but you're not even using and, or you could throw that in there. You're like, even better if, and it's like, oh yeah, that's good. Because you're coming with your suggestions, which I absolutely love that. So I wrote that down. Definitely key is the language that you use as the person giving as well as receiving the feedback. What you say is important, but how you say it is even more important. People sometimes say, well, don't worry about how it was said. You just need to pay attention to the message. I don't believe in that, because how you say things is important. Yes, if you are very conscious when you're having a conversation and you've learned to let the triggers be pushed away, that you don't get emotional in the moment because of how it was being said, and you spill back your own emotional poison, that's great for people who are there. But most of us
It's
are still
hard.
on that journey,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So when you say something a certain way, they're triggered. And guess what? Everything that you intended to share is lost in that moment, because the person receiving has now shut down. They've picked up on that one little thing you said. And like you said earlier, they're no longer listening to anything else you
Right.
said. They're
Done.
now in
Yeah.
defense posture,
Yep.
because they were waiting for you to say just that one thing,
Right.
so that they have that excuse, if you will, to tell you what they really think.
Right.
And then the whole objective of the positive outcome is not fully realized because of that. So granted, you can't control how everybody receives everything you say, but, and some on the call know this, is be impeccable with your words, right? Don't just go into a tough conversation willy-nilly. Really prepare. Well, if I say that, how would that be received if I heard it? And if I know I'm sensitive, which I really am, I need to tweak that a little bit, because I want it to be received the way I intend it to be. I can't control it, but I can control what I say and how I say it, because I'm coming from a place of care. I care. It's carefrontation. And if you have that in mind, you will be very impeccable with your words, because you also care about yourself. What goes out can also be received back. So when you maybe unintentionally or intentionally hurt someone, they may try to hurt you in return, and who wants to be hurt? So that's my spiel on your response to what you said.
I see some agreement with us in the comments.
Yes. There's a
Raising your
lot of
words, and
comments
word is
here.
everything. Yeah.
So yes, raise your words.
Right on.
Yes, my
Choosing
piece
your
of
language is so important.
Yeah, word is
And
everything. Yes.
and that is where sometimes role playing sounds silly, but if you have feedback to give someone, and you have a trusted a coach or a friend, someone that you can role play that with, and you can again play yourself, and you can play the other person, so you can take turns. That can help you learn what you want to say and what you don't want to say going into that conversation.
Yes.
Yeah.
If practice makes perfect, and that would be one of the key takeaways. And, doing it with your children, I have to catch myself. It may not always be a feedback moment, but it's a learning moment for them and for me to get better at, okay, when I did that with my son, when I approached this situation with my son. So for example, my youngest son, he'll be 10 on Monday. He can have emotional outbursts when his brother is triggering him. And so I'll hear it from upstairs, and I'll say, Noah, come here. And I'll ask a lot of questions, because that also slows me down from not getting upset because he's upset. So just asking a lot of questions. Well, what happened? What's that doing to your peace? What do you want to do about it? Just in reaction to something that he's experienced. So practice makes perfect, I think, anything that you're doing. Okay, so that's giving feedback. We talked a little bit about receiving feedback as well. That can be hard too. So are there any other things other than what we've discussed? And I know I've kind of rambled on a bit. Anything else that you want to share that touches on how do we receive the feedback?
So I brought a personal example that I will share, and it is not, especially even better if feedback, it is not easy to receive, right? Even if you know this model and you're assuming positive, it's still, sometimes it's like, ouch, okay, so the main principle again is assuming positive intent, assuming the other person that you're on the same team and they have your best interest at heart. But I was trying to think back, you know, because I said I've been using this model for probably more than a decade now. And I said to my husband last night, I know we have used feedback model. And he's like, you mean oils? I said, yes. And I was like, I need to think of an example. And I actually have one. Now once a year, so I think this is a beautiful thing that my husband and I do. Every New Year's Eve day, we go through, we each have a list of commitments to one another. I see he's made a face palm. We have a list of, yeah.
Hey, Bobby.
We have a list of commitments that we make to one another. What I'm about to share is born out of that list of commitments. By way of background, my last name, Michelucci, I am Italian, Kenya, and I won't speak in absolutes, but I can safely say, I think, that we Italians are loud people. We talk when we are in a conversation.
I should be Italian then.
When I'm in a conversation with my family, we're just all going a mile a minute at the same time. And that's the way, you know, so when my husband and I first were together, he would say, how can you speak to each other that way? I'm like, what are you talking about? We're talking. But it sounds like yelling to him and fighting. But anyway, because of that, and because of the way my husband grew up, we have different ways of communicating. And so he called to my attention that, and he stuck to oils to do this, but his observation was that whenever he is mid-sentence, he's getting cut off, right? With a thought or a sharing. And but by me, you know, the impact that has on him is that it makes him feel like what he has to say is not important, that it is not valuable. So when I first heard that, I was like, ouch, right? So for the person that you're sharing your life with to tell you that the perception is that you think that what they say doesn't matter is like, wow, that stings. And then I wanted to get defensive and say, what do you, I mean, that's what talking is. What do you mean? But I thought, no, okay, we really are coming from different places of communication. So I said, I'm sorry, I really had no idea. No idea. And so I made a commitment. You know, we did some back and forth and talked about where that came from, his style of communication and his family's style and my style and my family's style. And so our solution is I don't think I'm perfect at it, but I'm much more intentional now that when he is pausing, that does not mean his thought is finished, right? And just like if you're coaching someone and you might have a great thought to think next or a great question to ask, you have to say, no, release your agenda, go where this conversation is going.
Exactly.
And so I've really tried to do that a lot more over the years with my husband. And again, the feedback model, even though it's never easy to receive feedback, it's helpful, right? Communication is everything. So it was helpful, and I'm grateful for it.
And thank you for sharing that example of being vulnerable, and obviously with your husband online, you guys have discussed this, and it's okay to share. So I appreciate that. He said he's gotten better. Oh, that's awesome. And I think, again, that comes from a place of we care when we give feedback, and also it impacts us. We care about ourselves. We care about the other person. And a lot of times we're not self-aware. Self-awareness is so important, which we don't always have. And we look for people to help us. And when people are not telling us things, it's not really helping us. Like, I can't assume, and I don't assume that I'm perfect and I say everything right. And I'm self-aware that I'm high energy. I'm loud too. I talk with my hands. That's why I said I should be Italian, and I can just go in with the conversation too. Yeah. And I'm learning, like, I'll even catch myself. Don't interrupt. Let them finish their thought, because I'm ready to get in there and share mine.
Right.
But I would love for people to give me more feedback, and I take it seriously. You have no idea how I take it seriously. One quick example I have to share is I was having a conversation with a friend, and they said something to me, and I know it triggered me because I felt I was defensive. What was going through my head was, I'm not like everyone else. I'm Kenya. And I came off like, I was calm because I could feel my insides getting upset with what they were sharing with me. But I was calm when I said, I am Kenya, I'm not blah, blah, blah. The other person, I was not aware how I was coming off to them. And they thankfully gave me the feedback. They got triggered in that moment. They felt like, you know, we both have children. And the way that you just spoke to me, it made it feel like you were talking down to me.
Yeah.
And being demeaning. And I
Yes.
was like, wow, like it wasn't my intention. But then I
Yes.
started like, am I like that all the time? Do I get
Yes.
that vibe? And this is the first person who's told me that. So I was very humbled in that moment. And I apologized. But also in the moment when let's say you say something, you do something to a person and they're courageous enough to give the feedback, it doesn't mean it's done when you apologize.
Hmm.
I've learned you should consider giving that person space, because a person, you know, may not just shrug it off really quickly. They may need their time to process what they've experienced,
Yep.
how you responded to it. And it's not on your time, it's on their time, whatever that means. We don't always like you taking too long to get over it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's
Right.
their time to sit with it and decide what they want to do with it, just like it's our time to sit with the feedback they gave us. And if you reflect on it and you learn from it, that's how you get better.
That's
So,
it.
and you're always having it in your mind, how am I coming across? And you're more mindful. And it's like, it's grace, because it's like, I'm glad that person gave me that feedback. So in my interactions with them going since then and with others, I'm like, how am I coming off?
Yeah.
Because the next person may not tell you, you know what, you got a little extra with me. And that's how
Yes.
I took it. So
there's a spiritual teaching that the annoying traits about other people that you go around the world noticing are things you have to work on within yourself. They're mirrors. Other people in the world are holding up mirrors to the very things you need to work on.
yeah.
And at a real meta level, these last 4 months of quarantine, of everything, I thought, as anxious as that has made us, right? There's a lot going on. I kept going back to what are my lessons? What do I need to learn during this time? So that if I'm still, if I take the car out somewhere and I'm getting upset at someone else on the road, nope, I haven't learned my lesson yet. Patience,
Yes.
patience. So I'm looking for the mirrors constantly and the lessons.
I love that. Mirror lessons, slowing down in the moment to realize what you're doing. And it's the old us, right? The old habits, and really recognizing, okay, I'm doing it again. That's not who I am anymore, but I'm being that person right now.
Right.
Stop it. Grace, empathy, patience.
Yes.
Takes a lot of
Grace.
practice.
Grace is a good
Grace.
word. I see a comment. We all need time to process.
Yes,
Absolutely.
thank you for. I was reading it, but I didn't want to interrupt you when you were talking around acknowledging his comment. Yeah, definitely. So we all need time to process. Some process quicker than others. I'm a quick processor in the minute. I think to start to forgive in the moment because I want it done to me. These are things I want, but doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen. I'm learning to be comfortable with silence because someone's upset with me. Not that I want that to happen all the time. I'm learning to be comfortable with, you don't have peace and you don't have reconciliation. You don't have closure in that moment when you want it, because you want it to be okay again. It's uncomfortable when someone is mad at you.
Yes.
And you want it to be, let's make up right now so that I can stop feeling this way.
Yes.
That is very uncomfortable, but it's not my time. I can be over it quickly because I want peace, but I need to give that person time. I will get over it quickly, more likely because of what I've gone through in my own life. That causes me to just say, okay, I want peace. I don't like this feeling. I don't like feeling guilty. I don't want shame. I don't want guilt. Help me feel better about me. But it's not always about me in the moment. I got to deal with what I'm dealing with separately and let that other person deal with what they're dealing with separately because of how I've impacted them, as well as how they've impacted me. We take it and we process it differently. And we want to learn to be okay with that because that gives us peace. It's about us having peace. And how do we get that?
I mentioned the commitments that my husband and I go through every New Year's Eve day. Something we have committed to each other. We have a pause button. And if we are in a conversation that might turn into a disagreement and we could feel things start to go where we don't want them to go, you could feel the energy. We have reserved the right to say pause.
Yes.
And we're going to come back to this. We're going to pause. Okay. We need to do more processing. Again, the time and the space for processing, and we're going to revisit this. And until we revisit it, we're just going to go about things as we normally would, and our commitment is to come back at this. Now, the pause isn't perfect, but it's a nice tool to have in the tool belt.
I love that you brought that up. You have an agreement on how you will handle things when you're one of you or both of you are recognizing that things are not, the flow of the conversation is not going as it was initially intended. Things took a turn.
Yes.
And you're agreeing to not agree, but you're not talking about is how it's showing up. So I love that because the same person I was talking about before that gave me feedback, we've experienced things since then that kind of went to another level of discomfort and conflict. And we had okay, ready for this? 4-hour conversation. 4 hours. Like start to end. It didn't kind of get piecemeal. Total 4 hours in one sitting. It started with me giving observation. So I was using oils without realizing it, but I was prepared. I literally wrote out what I was going to say, and I was scared. You know that you're having a courageous conversation when your insides are doing this, and you also know you're doing the right thing, because the right thing can be fearful, but the point is to push past your fear and do it anyway, because you come out better on the other side, and the relationship comes out better on the other side, because it doesn't happen every day. So celebrate it when it's done. But in that conversation, we did what you said, which was, okay, how are we going to handle this in the future? So we both came up with suggestions, and we landed on, because I think we both get triggered very easily, so that we're mindful about that in our friendship. When that person triggers me, it's my responsibility to say something because they don't know I'm being triggered, and vice versa. And what do you want to do with it? Do I want to address it now, or do I want to address it later? And then we said, well, what's our code word? And that person's suggestion, out of pause being one of the options, was pause. So
you have a pause too.
We have a pause too.
That's great.
Go pause.
Yes.
So that's why I was like, I gotta share this because you said it, and I'm like, oh, we got that in common too. So
the triggers. That's so interesting. Sometimes my husband and I will be hanging out with friends or family, whatever. And then we'll be driving home, or the next day, one of us might say to the other one, like, hey, you remember when you said that one thing yesterday? And we, like, to the person who didn't say it, it was like, or to the person who said it, they just said it. They didn't even give it a second thought. But to the other one of us, it was like something was triggered.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I love that example, because you can choose to address it in the moment, but you're using judgment. Like, is now the time? Are we so past the point that the person's not going to hear me, so why even bother? But at least, at a minimum, the goal should be, if you can, and it's not always going to happen because it's a call. Do you or do you not even say pause? Sometimes it's like you got your level of triggering.
Yes.
If I say pause on that, I might be coming across as I'm just nitpicking.
Pick your battles. Yeah,
exactly. Pick your battles. But you may bring it up later if it's still bothering you, or you're noticing a pattern. right? But if it's in the moment, okay, I know I need to say something, but I'm not ready to really go into detail because I'm too upset right now and I need to get myself together. Yeah, pause. And then it's like, pause. However, I'm not in the state of mind to talk about it right now. But what you just said, I needed us to pause. And I'll let you know when I'm ready to talk about it. Okay, do you still want to talk? Do you want to change the subject? Do you want to get off the phone? I think I want to get off the phone right now. Okay, then it's about give them their space, create space. Some people do, and then also talk about, well, pause. We agree that I've just heard something. I know I need to follow up and do the oils model or some combination of it. But for the time being, I know we need to pause. In general, when someone is, how do they deal with it? How, get a sense of, if I'm triggered, here's what I don't want you to do versus here's what I do want you to do. So let's say I've done something to you and we're friends and I maybe know or don't know, I picked up on something bothered you. If you keep coming at me with a bunch of texts or you keep calling me, that just elevates my frustration because you're not giving me space. However, if I've told you that I need a pause, then I want you to honor it. If I haven't said anything and I've played like everything's okay, then that's on me because I haven't at least been authentic to say pause. So when you keep just engaging like everything's all right, that's on me. That's not on you. You didn't do anything wrong because I didn't give you the clue to give me space. So I think that's going back to communication, some level of courage to say something to the person, because anything they do after that, unless they trigger you again on purpose, which is usually not intentional, it's not your fault, right? It's not their fault. So I'll leave it at that. So
we have a comment. Yep. We have a comment right around that.
I definitely pause myself. Is this something I can let go or do I need to address it? Not everything that triggers me has to be addressed by the other person. It could be me. You want to start with that one, Rob?
Sure. So I would ask you the question, is it something you can let go or you need to address it? That's a longer term question. And I think there may be some trial and error there, right? We've been talking about like pick your battles. If it's important to you, it's important. And so from that perspective, if it's something that's bringing something up in you, hopefully you have the kind of relationship with the other person and trust built up that you can say those sorts of things. Maybe they had no idea. I think ultimately, if you choose to bring it up, even if you think it's not worth bringing up, your intention will come through. Your intention will come through, and you might be more glad that you brought it up because then it's less likely to happen again versus you replaying it over and over again. Yeah. What do you think, Kenya?
I would agree with that. And the person asking the question is also a coach. She's a confidence coach. So, so I like that she's asking the question. So it's almost, it may be for her or it may be a rhetorical question to help others.
Yeah.
So I agree with everything that you have said. One of the things that I've learned over time, but it's really sinking in now, and I keep saying it so that it becomes who I am, is don't make assumptions. That's one. And then the other one is this is the harder part is don't take anything personally, which is hard. Not taking anything personally automatically applies you're letting it go. Yeah. But there's certain things that you may do before you let it go, which is I will not assume what this person said was meant the way it was said. So I'm going to seek to understand by asking for clarity.
Yes. Seeking to understand. Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And then once you understand, if you need to talk it through, then you choose to let it go, because letting it go gives you peace and it gives the other person grace so that you might receive it the next time you're in a situation from anyone, including God, who always gives us grace, right? So grace. I think it's really, that's probably the word of the day, grace. I think a lot of things we just automatically should let go. And you, like you said, you pick your battles. How much energy is this giving you? Because everything that we are beings of energy, and what we put out is energy
Yes.
that could be diverted elsewhere. So if you're
Yes.
letting it go, that energy that you would be otherwise putting into addressing something could be diverted somewhere else that's better serving you.
Mm-hmm.
So that comes over time. That's a different level. I won't use maturity. It's another level of really becoming more conscious. Because when we're conscious, you're automatically just letting a lot of stuff go because you have peace, and that comes from within. But that comes with time and with practice, and I am continuously on that journey. So.
There's a meditation, an online meditation that I do sometimes. I'm gonna bring it back to Oprah, from Oprah's 2014 Life You Want tour, and it's called I think the Sunrise Meditation, or the Morning Ritual. And Oprah talks about how we are literally made of stardust. And the end of the meditation says, "What will you do with the energy that is you today?"
What will you do with the energy that is you today? I love that.
Yeah.
What will you do? I'll have to write down because I can just listen to this later. What will you do with the energy that you have today?
Yes.
I love that. I will definitely be stealing that. And I, like you said, that is like one of the things you tell yourself. It's a meditation that you do. And
Yes.
I'm reading this book, and I haven't gotten to the how to meditate yet because I've been doing it one way, but I've already created my own that I used this morning when I was at the gym. I was on the elliptical machine for 30 minutes. And for that 30 minutes, I was reciting my new, I don't want to call it affirmation, but my new thoughts that I need to keep working on to become them, if that makes sense.
Yes,
and
I
it,
love
and it
that.
also pushed out all the other stuff that comes in my head. I was controlling my thoughts and also noticing when something else was trying to come in. So that's part of me trying to break the habit of being myself, which is the name of the book. So with that, how do we end this? What are the key takeaways that we want to give people from what we've discussed, and the tool, the strategy that we're given that can help people in their personal and professional lives if they take action?
Key takeaways. Well, the one I wrote down from Lisa Nichols: turn confrontation into carefrontation.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, love it.
Language is important. What worked well, even better if.
I love it. That was great.
Assuming positive intent, giving people grace is important.
Yes.
The grace that you would expect from the universe, yeah?
Yes, I love it. That's a great wrap up. You have more?
Oils.
Oils.
And we have a parting gift for everybody.
Yes, share.
So Kenya, you and I have put a link in our bio directly to the oils model. So if you would like a copy of it, that link will be in our bio today. For you to pass it on and to practice.
Yes, and I love everything you said. You wrapped it up. We are giving you a bonus for free. Click on our bios for just today. You can go to where it is and download it. And practice makes perfect. So practice it. Practice builds confidence so that when you're in a professional or personal situation, you know you have the tools and strategies to use the tools and strategies because it's worked for you before, and you learned from the last experience how to tweak it and make it better. And you get more confidence with the more practice you do. So please take it. Please try it. Trust yourself, and you will be all the better for it. We promise. So with that, Rob,
thank you for this.
Thank you for this.
This is so much fun. The hour, you told me, it went by like in a flash.
It does. 30 minutes never happen. So, and I'm watching the time before it cuts us off. So this will go on my IG. It'll turn into an IGTV, so it'll be there. I can give you an app that you can pull it yourself.
Oh, perfect.
And as long as it works, because it doesn't work for me, but it's worked for others. Somebody else told me how to use it. You can load it and post on your feed as well.
Oh, wonderful.
Thank you so much. You have no idea what this means to me that you partnered with me on this. I honestly feel like this is for me, the best live that I've done, particularly because it just wasn't talking. Thank you, hubby. It wasn't just talking. It was real tools and examples that went in line with the tools that we can give people, real techniques and strategies. So I thank you so much for you. And hey, you
Thank
let
you,
me know
Kenya.
when you're ready to do this topic
Right,
or
to be
another topic
continued.
on
I
yours.
know.
And we can do it
Yeah.
on yours.
Okay, sounds
Okay.
great. Thank you, and thanks everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Mwah.
Bye.
Bye.